So in this video, we're going to try to dive into a few just basic tips on filming your own hunts. And we're not going to dive into anything too deep, so this isn't by any means any sort of advanced filming techniques, but we are going to just give some basic advice on what might help increase the production value of filming your own hunts. I highly encourage you to check out Michael's video that he just did on photo tips. A lot of the same principles apply. So in Michael's video, he went over proper lighting, rule of thirds, getting unique angles, and telling a story. And all of those same principles apply to video as well. However, with video, you have a few more components to worry about. The image is moving, so there's things constantly changing, and you might want to think about that as you're capturing your footage. Also, you have audio that comes into play. You don't have to worry about that with taking photos. So tip number one is pay attention to your audio. Audio is the biggest difference between coming from photos to video. You want to be thinking about not only your audio as the person who's being filmed, but also the audio of the natural sounds. So maybe if you're hunting elk, you want to get some elk bugling or just the wind blowing, just some basic sounds that will really add a lot to your production value. So things to think about though, if you have a handy cam or even most small cameras, the onboard mics, they're not very good. So you're going to have to think about that when you're capturing your audio. They make wind diffusers that might fit over a mic, but a lot of them it's just built right into the camera. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. You can get external mics, so you could get an external mic that plugs into your camera. And there's ones that you can put on top of your camera. There's wireless ones like I'm using right now. There's all sorts of things to do. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but it's just something to be aware of. Another thing is to be thinking about monitoring your audio. A lot of cameras have headphone jacks. Plug some headphones in there, give it a listen. Make sure the audio sounds good. That's one thing that can ruin a whole track, is if the audio is garbage. It really takes away from it. So the next tip I'm bringing up is using a tripod. This is another thing that's a little different between photos and video. Having a tripod when the image is moving really can add a lot to your production value. You don't need to have a tripod for every shot, but just to have a few statics in there, maybe some pans or tilts, or just smoothly following an animal or a hunter, whatever it may be, having a tripod adds a lot. We don't use a tripod a lot of the times, but I guarantee that we always have one with us for those extra shots, those B-roll shots, whatever it might be. So the last tip, which was also one of Michael's tips, but it's a little different when it comes to video, is telling a story. So when you're telling a story with video versus photography, you have moving image and audio, which is kind of the tips that I brought in before. With audio, you can tell a story with your voice, but also, like I mentioned before, getting natural sound is a big thing. Before you even leave on your hunt, you're going to be thinking about the story. So what is the story that you want to share or you want to remember? Do you want to remember the hunt itself? Do you want to remember the landscape? Do you want to remember what you went through physically and emotionally? All of those come into play as you're capturing it. In order to do that, just think about getting shots of maybe you're struggling to get up that hill. Get shots of you sweating to get up there. Get shots explain kind of what you're going through emotionally. Are you struggling to try to find animals? Whatever it might be. That really adds a lot, in my opinion, to the hunt. I think it's not all about the kill. You don't want to just go out there and film you shooting the animal. There's so much more to the hunt to that, in my opinion. I like to remember all of the other parts. I want to remember what other animals I saw out there. I want to remember what the weather was like. I want to remember what landscapes, what the scenics were like. I want to remember that sunset. Think about that while you're setting up your story, and I think it'll add a lot to your hunt. Those are just some basic tips if you're thinking about starting to film your own hunts. We just skimmed the surface there. We didn't dive too deep into anything, but if you want to learn more, let us know. Put some questions in the comments section below. Just let us know what you're thinking, what you want to learn about, and we can definitely make more videos like this. And never forget to enjoy your hunt. Don't dive too deep into it where you're not even enjoying yourself anymore. We want to have fun out there. You want to experience the hunt. We want to get good quality meat, all that. Don't forget what you're out there for.